Hi, everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with the Audrey Helps Actors podcast, and this is episode number 101. Today we have Kris Sidberry. I love Kris. Kris is an actor who works all the time in movies and TV and theater. She had a huge movie that came out, and she texted me and she was like thinking ahead, and she wanted to know how to deal with when the big win ends. So I invited her and I said, hey girl, you want to talk about it on the podcast? And then turns out we have some grief to deal with during the busiest time of her life. So we really get into all of that because life is crazy. One of my favorite sayings is life is the thing that happens to you that you didn't plan. Self-tape May, 16 tapes, 1 month. Can you do it? Yes, you can. In fact, Rafapov _STM, short for Self-tape May, did finish 16 already. Rafapov, love it, get it. Listen, this is the time where it gets hard. This is the time where the struggle is real. I want you to know the struggle is real right now. Getting your first 4 done, easy. Getting your last 4 done, super motivated. Getting 5 through 12 done is hard. And I want you to think about that. I want you to think about grit. The enthusiasm starts to wane off and the fatigue hits, and you kind of just have to just dig your heels in and rely on good old-fashioned grit and support. And what a great experience and practice truly for the abundance of auditions that you hope to be receiving. And everyone that finishes 16 tapes by midnight on May 31st will be entered to win the random drawing for our biggest prize yet, a year of Castability, a session with self-tapes here, a Casting Network's premium membership, a 2.5-hour headshot session with Bella Seville Photography, free admission to Erica Bream and Kara Shoot Rosenbaum's class Ace, your self-tape : co-stars, free admission to Amy Linden's Saturday intensive class, and so much more! Go to selftapemay.com to register for free. To be entered in the prize package, selftapemay.com. While you're there, find your Instagram on the progress board and see who else is doing Self-Tape May in your market. All right, we have some bad news. The review baby is really hungry because the review baby only had 2 meals last week. Review meals were provided by Fosnt Work and Jack John 19. The good news is Phone's Work review was so good that there were leftovers. But now there is nothing left in the fridge. All right, Matthew Patrick Davis, who plays the mother on The Barbarian, tell them what they must do.
Feed the review. Bye.
Go to ratethispodcast.com/Audrey. ratethispodcast.com/Audrey. I am begging you. The review baby is counting on your sustenance. All right, strike updates. Universal Studios needs bodies. Everyone, word on the street, head up to Universal. They need bodies. There are too many entrances to cover for the strikes currently. So go there if you're going to the picket lines. Consider going to Universal. This week's podcast is brought to you by Castability. If you need sides for your self-tape May, get some free ones from them. Also, Abundance Bound to help you get your money together. What better time to get your money together than during a strike? Do it. Also by Self-Tapes Here. That's Self-Tapes Here. Get some coaching. Get a professional tape done by a professional session runner. He knows a thing or two about self-tapes. Jeff Pride, Self-Tapes Here. All right. I hope you're setting up your self-tape or self-tape May. I hope it's a real audition. And if it is, I hope that you mute it on Instagram. And of course, as always, I hope that you book it.
Audrey helps actors because they don't know anything.
Hi, everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with Audrey Helps Actors podcast, and today we have...
Kris Sidberry.
Hi, Kris.
Hi.
You know how I like to start the podcast?
Yeah.
Tell them a little bit about, are you union? Are you repped? Do you audition? What kinds of things you go out for? All of that stuff.
Hi. First off, dream come true, because this podcast has been like a saving grace for me for so long. So really cool to be here. My name is Kris Sidberry. I am a union actor. I've been a union for over a decade now. I do film, TV, theater, commercials, though theater is my wheelhouse. I also need to eat. I am like at a stage in my life where like I'll do a show if someone asks me to audition, but I don't pursue it anymore. So I have an agent in New York, an agent in Boston, a manager Los Angeles that kind of covers everywhere, and commercially I have an agent in LA. It has been a rough 2 years, y'all. I moved to LA February 19th of 2020. And Los Angeles locked down March 12th. So moved to this like very big, scary city, which is funny because I lived in New York for a long time, and I'm like, I know city life. And then I get to LA. It's a whole nother thing.
You have definitely been working all of the markets, and I know that because of your extensive training, you should all look up her reel. She's got an incredible reel. You're editing, if you're editing your own reel, good job, girl, because it's so great. And I'm really happy for you. I'm really proud of you. And I want to talk, first of all, before we get into the life happens part of the conversation, tell everyone about the movie. By the time this airs, it will have been out already. So tell everybody all about it.
Yeah, it was a huge summer for me. I booked a theater show at the Huntington, which was my dream theater for a decade, first large company I ever auditioned for, and it took me 10 years consistently auditioning to book with them. So I got this audition for, the movie is called I Want to Dance with Somebody. It's the new Whitney Houston biopic, same writer as Bohemian Rhapsody and Anthony McCartan. And honestly, when I got the audition, I was like, I don't fit this character. I'm not even... And I went on We Audition, and I told the reader, I was like, I'm just going to say these lines like 3 times and send it in because I don't look like her, so I'm not going to get this. And then on my opening night, I got an email from my agent saying I booked it. So like could not be already on a high, right? So I get to go on stage in my dream theater knowing that I am booked for the rest of the year. Well, at the time, actually, when I first booked it, it was only supposed to be 2 days, and it ended up being the entire filming.
This is super common.
It was supposed to be a small part, and then I get there, and then it ended up being like, I thought 1-2 scenes, like 7 scenes. We wrapped in December. If you're a local hire and they shoot somewhere else, they have to fly you. And so I got like my first class flight from Boston to Los Angeles in December and put up at the Beverly Hills Hilton, which is where Whitney passed away. And I play Pat Houston in the film. She's a huge part of Whitney's life, especially towards the end. She's her sister-in-law turned manager, and she is the executor of the Houston estate. So no pressure, right? Like alive and my boss. So the film wraps. And then again, in the summer, I actually book another theater thing that was a dream thing. And then I had scheduling conflicts. And it was like, choose reshoots or get to do Shakespeare. I chose reshoots because it was 4 times more the money. At the end of the day, I really was contractually obligated to kind of do the reshoots because I had booked that before. I did not know how to behave, having my own driver. Like, do I tip? I don't know. Like,
the tip is included by the production company.
Okay.
However, some of the drivers will be like, I drove somebody yesterday from your set and, that guy didn't tip. But you're like, oh, you don't say, if you have something and feel so inclined and whatever, sure. But everyone should know that production already has tipped the driver.
Great for people to know, because I did not. Yeah.
Okay, good.
I'm still in theater mode of like,
I know. It's a hard transition.
And I probably am always going to be that actor that's a little like, thank you so much. Like, because I am so grateful. And I think one of the great things about being older now is like, I know that's not reality. And I'm just grateful for the gift and the privilege to do that. And like, I had been booked since June of 2021. And then I booked another film while filming Whitney. It was my first straight offer. So when I had like a couple months off, I was like, I'm gonna go travel. And I went to Greece, so it didn't feel like down. And then I get at the end of this set and like, I don't have anything. I'm on such a high. Like, we're filming in California, but it's supposed to be the Amalfi Coast on a yacht. Like, just what you as like a little kid, I made it. And then like,
yeah, that's very real. So that was like your first year of really steady back-to-back bookings.
Yeah.
And how many years in your career have you gone without working? Have you had a year where you're like, I didn't work this year?
I've been very lucky. Now, the work may have been like a commercial or an industrial. I started in 2009, back at it. I had my BFA, took a break, and got a master's in something totally different, and decided to audition for one thing, and that was the Huntington. And I said, like, literally went outside and, like, looked in the sky and was like, if I'm supposed to be an actor again, something positive is going to happen from this one thing. And I didn't book that show, but the associate artistic director recommended me for another show, and I booked that. And I have always had something in the works. Now, I must add a caveat to that. I am very blessed. I started my career in Boston, where at the time, I was the only Black SAG actress my age. So now it's also Boston, so there's not like a ton of Black roles. So I did a lot of like industrials, and that was right when Boston was like starting to pull in film and TV. So I got very lucky with a lot of projects, I suppose.
Do you have a sense of the longest amount of time between maybe theatrical bookings or between something of, you know, weight that makes you feel like, okay, like you're working?
Theatrical bookings long, like definitely like 18 months to 2 years, I believe. But then I pulled away a little bit too.
The 18 months to 2 years is really common. Most people have like a chunk like that every decade or few, you know, like it's a common occurrence. I'm going to be spending a lot of this season really talking about that because I want people to understand that most actors that I know who are consistently working are doing so with a combination of television, film, theater, voiceover, commercial, and not necessarily all of those things, but some combination. So maybe, you know, television and voiceover, or voiceover and commercial and theater, or something in that zone. I'm really passionate about clarifying what the industry really looks like. So when everyone is seeing everyone's posts and thinking about their friends who are working all the time, that they're really comprehending what their career might look like or their professional pursuits versus someone else's, and that most actors are diversifying their talent skills in order to make ends meet here and there. Yes. And even with that, you will have years where you're just not working. That's just part of it. But wait, Kris. Oh, you sweet, caring, intelligent, passionate, beautiful spirit, you. Wait, I have to interrupt you.
Help me. I need some help.
And now it's time for listener questions.
I'm so scared.
This listener question is brought to you by Castability. Download the app to get free original sides every day for the month of May. Do you want to bring your self-tape May to the next level and get some feedback from a casting professional? That sounds exciting. Well, for just $25, you can submit a tape every single weekday to their casting directors. They've got free original sides for you, including some of those Lord of the Rings style sides. Find out your strengths and weaknesses and what you might be working on during Self-Tape May. Deliberate practice, my favorite thing. With their feedback in believability, specificity, creativity, personality, and finally, who's going to win this role? Visit Castability.Actor/SelfTapeMay23 for free sides every day in May and for your special Self-Tape May $25 offer, promo code Audrey10 for 10% off. This listener question is brought to you by Self Tapes Here. Jeff Pride is awesome. He is a session runner. I use his services myself. He does coaching. Now that you've done some tapes for Self-Tape May, now try coaching with Jeff for the next one and see the difference for yourself. Message Jeff on Instagram at selftapeshere. Call us with your strike stories or questions at 667-ACTOR-70. Call in about the strike. Just tell everyone what you did. Just tell everyone how it went. Just tell everyone that you went and how easy or hard it was, what you experienced, what you felt when you picketed. I just want any of that. Just tell me about picketing. Call in.
Hi, Audrey. This is Tony from Los Angeles calling. It's been about 2 years since I booked a show, and the strike happened, and I just booked a very popular show in its 12th season that's shooting out in New York. Now, I am very much in solidarity with the WGA, and I've been on the picket line, and I'm just trying to figure out, what do I do? I was hired as a local hire in New York as per my agent, and I am planning on heading out there, and is it going to happen? I don't know. What do I do?
Hi, Tony. Thank you so much for calling this in. I am really glad you called in with this specific question because I've been getting a lot of people calling with similar things. Congratulations on the booking. Honestly, that's awesome. Will it happen? I don't know. It took 3 people with bells to shut down Evil for the rest of the season. So go. SAG-AFTRA is in solidarity with the WGA. We are not ourselves as a union on strike. That means that you are allowed to work contracts during the WGA strike. However, what I will say about that is you just kind of have to do some due diligence in terms of what's happening. Scripts that have already been written, scripts that are already finished, done, completed, those are up for grabs. Some networks have done what's called stockpiling scripts in anticipation for the writer's strike. So the scripts are done. Now, if somebody is hiring non-union writers to subvert the effects of the writer's strike, then that's what I would encourage you to say, no, stop. I don't really know that you're going to know that, however, and also I'm going to guess, particularly with major network shows, if that's happening, the leads will find out about it, and the leads are actually the people who will likely steer the ship in terms of not working, not showing up to work. The thing is that the actors, if you sign contracts, you are legally and contractually bound to show up even though the writers are on strike. Because we as SAG-AFTRA actors are not on strike as our own union. They're separate unions. So go, have a great time. If people are getting auditions for things, audition, go for it. Just know things are likely going to end up not filming. So it is possible that in every single moment you will not film. And even if you are filming, literally what has happened and is happening is people will be in the middle of filming something and they pull the show while people are filming. So honestly, the win is a win. Take the win. I hope you smash it out there, and congratulations.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
And so you live this set life where you get shuffled around and you have people bringing you food and all of that, except that then things really went crazy in your life. So tell everybody a little bit about all of that.
Yeah. So that ended around August 10th-ish. And I flew home to Tennessee to be with my dad. Has been very sick. My dad was a type 1 diabetic, dialysis, who in 2020 got COVID and almost passed. And I've been very fortunate the past 2 years to be a lot at home and take care of him when I could. And it's been really a quality amount of time. So it was his 69th birthday on the 17th. And I had this whim. I threw him a little surprise birthday party, and I am so glad I did, because he passed away a month to the day on his birthday on September 17th. I've had many little moments and insights. My dad suffered a major heart attack. He had what's called a widowmaker. Most people don't survive it. And then he had 2 strokes. And if it tells you anything about like my persistence, my dad made it out, went through rehab, even through all of his medical stuff, and still went back to work. My first thing I do in the rehab, they would ask him, what are you going to do? And he's like, go back to work. He was able to work full time up until about July when I was in Greece. And I knew once my dad wasn't able to work, he wouldn't live much longer. But I didn't think it was going to be within a couple months.
Yeah, that's so fast.
So fast. And maybe this is morose, but I said goodnight to him on that Friday. And I went the next day to start helping him move, and he was already gone. Honestly, I will regret, because I just was like, I'm gonna see my dad the next day. So I did the half hug, like he was in his chair, and be like, oh, I love you. I'll see you later. I'm always like, now I'll be like getting out of an Uber and be like, love you. But like, I tell everyone I love them. So grateful for that I did that. But I didn't get like, my dad he was like 6'4". He's a big dude. Like get like a big hug from him. And this is actually a big deal. So my first time to deal with publicity for a movie. And on that Thursday before my dad passed, I wake up to like a slew of emails being like, the trailer's been leaked on YouTube. Everyone like, prepare your socials. This is what's about at 11 a.m. Respond now. My agent, it was like a Boston agent who's never had to deal with any of this before. Like, what the hell?
Right.
You can see me for like a second in it. But my dad died 48 hours later. My dad was like the biggest supporter of my career. So whoever did that, I'm just so grateful for that. Because he got to see me a little bit. My one shining light is like, my dad's gone, but he can now be at every premiere ever, and every audition, and every opening night, right? It's funny, I have just now been like, okay, I'm going to continue, but I really didn't give a shit. And of course, the weekend my dad dies, my manager's like, when it rains, it pours. I'm like, yeah, no shit. When it rains, it pours. He's like, I got between that Friday before he died and like that Wednesday, I got 7 auditions. If anyone who's never had to plan a funeral, it is the biggest, worst party. And then you're also managing everyone else's emotions. So my dad was the medical director of the maximum security prison here and a physician in the area for a very long time. So he was a figurehead in the community. And so it was a lot. And of course, because I know my dad would be mad at me, I still did 6 out of those 7 auditions on the weekend my dad died. And some of them were long. I'm like, why are you sending me the 7 pagers now? Like, I don't want to. But my best friend, thank God, flew in from New York, Damien. And he, like, that's, Sunday after the funeral, we just sat and worked on this freaking series reg audition. And luckily, like, you kind of try to use it, but then also, like,
I can't memorize anything. So we're sitting here trying to like teleprompt tape, and it actually ended up being a decent audition, but like,
Sure.
yeah, I mean, I just got to the point, like, until I'm really annoyed. Like, I'll hang up here, like, oh, so what are you working on now? And I'm like, not being suicidal, honestly. If you want, like, the real answer, like, no, I'm not working on anything right now while I'm still, yes, auditioning. But, like, I'm at the point in the downturn where, like, I just come out of this funeral of my dad, like my best buddy, the biggest supporter, and see how much help he's done. And then I'm like, here I am, like this actress. And like, it's made me like question. I just want to do something bigger. I don't know. I don't know. Quick story about my dad. So I got to go to the prison and go to death row. And the nurse who'd kind of taken me under her wing because her dad just passed, and my dad walked her through her dad's passing. It was like, when we go to death row, like, just know like that your dad's biggest fans are in there. And ironically, it was so peaceful. And those are the nicest guys because they're in here, right? Like, this is home for them. I walk in the wood shop area and she's like, oh, you know, this is Dr. Sidberry's daughter. And I'm like, hi. And they're like, hey, your dad did a lot for us. And my response was, oh, I'm so glad he tried. And every single one, there was like 6 of them. And they were like, no, your dad, he did. He didn't try. He did. And one guy was like, I had a heart condition for 6 months and I kept trying to beg them to get me help. And the other doctor was going to let me die. And your dad stepped in and I got an angioplasty that day at Vanderbilt. He was like, I would be dead, which is ironic because he's on death row, but like, your dad still cared enough to keep me alive. And when you hear stories like that, I don't know, I want to be more of service, but the one thing helping me hold on, and I think this is really good for actors to know, because I know a lot of actors, especially during the pandemic, were like, what is this shit? Like sitting here talking to a dot on the wall through my ring light while someone reads my like, just, you know, like this disconnect made me really be like, I don't know. But I was in an acting class and the teacher pointed out, she was like, hey, when someone's having a bad day, what's the first thing they turn to? And they turned to the TV. Like they turned to that connection to hearing their story, right? And that is like the one kernel that is keeping me going. Because I've seen what it's like to have the driver and all. I really don't care. It's fun and I recognize the privilege, but that's not it. But like, even this podcast, if there's another actor out there that's like, I'm also going through a hard time, but like, so, you know, like a lot of us are. And have like, life is still going to happen to me, even though I've chosen this wild career path. And how do I juggle all of these balls of life? And like, what a gift of art to be able to channel all these emotions and hopefully someone else can gain from that.
Yeah. I just love everything that you just said because as you and many of the listeners know, I lost my father when I was quite young. I was also his caretaker. I was also the funeral planner of his loss, my brother's passing. And again, I was also the funeral planner of that. And most recently, my stepdad of 35 years passed in a year ago today. Actually, today is the anniversary. And I was with my mom. He was in the hospital, so she was sort of not able to be there fully because of COVID. So I was sort of helping her take care of herself while she then would go and visit him. And my father-in-law died in January. Yeah. And I understand this perspective of wanting to make an impact. And it's why I get really harsh on actors who are judgmental towards certain kinds of content. You know, maybe more routine content, things like that. And I always say, you know, most people don't have the capacity for like Handmaid's Tale every night. Like, we can't do it. I can only watch The Godfather once a year. It's just too intense. And the rest of the time, I need like The Witcher. I need Henry Cavill in a hot tub. I just do. I need Grey's Anatomy or procedurals where, you know, somebody's been kidnapped, but we're not really getting kidnapped. We're getting like mildly inconvenienced kidnapped. And it's because even before your father's passing, if we think of those 2 years, I mean, that's an intensive 2 years from the point he got COVID to his passing. And all of the time you were going between jobs back home, jobs back home, jobs get back home, and checking in with him and being there for him and with him. Like an artist spirit to an artist spirit, I want to just like give you a giant hug and really acknowledge to you how much that is. And sometimes I get insecure or frustrated about the professionalism of the actor and behavior of an actor, while also really understanding that I just don't think it's realistic for anyone to expect us to be able to do 7 pages and be 7 people this week, and also be our own selves and have all of that be chill, right? Like, it's a lot. In addition to the pressures and the stresses of production and success and a stretch of in the space in between jobs where you haven't worked and all of that. Honestly, like when my brother passed, I had Jesse download all like 8 seasons of Australia's Next Top Model. And I just watched Australia's Next Top Model for a solid month. And it was so satisfying. I don't know what it is about America's or Australia's Next Top Model that just is soothing to a deep part of my grieving soul that nothing else has managed to touch. But it's real. I certainly wasn't going to turn on something super heavy. I certainly wasn't going to go and hang out with people. I've been very fortunate and had lots of great therapists and never thought I needed to or should try to go in and at it alone. But even all of that, it's just like, what am I going to talk more about how sad it is? Like, you know, I don't want to go and talk about how sad it is. It's sad.
That's funny. I call it the Dead Parent Club. But if you're not a part of the Dead Parent Club, it's really hard to talk to other people. And it's so funny. People talk about like there are things in life that you won't know until it happens to you. But like what people say, like, oh, time heals all wounds. I know that's not true. There's so many little things that make it so difficult. I used to judge my mom a lot because she loves Hallmark Channel. And I do not so much. But to realize, like, my mom also has a very difficult job. And I'm like, oh, your brain can't handle it anymore. I've watched Harry Potter every single day for 1.5 years. And sometimes I watch Howl's Moving Castle or Spirited Away. Those are my heavy movies. Spirited Away.
I'm dying for you. I'm dying
like,
right now.
My brain can't handle, I need to know what's going to happen and be able to say the lines verbatim in order for me to be chill. Like, I can't. Also, why is there so much content? Like, I'm okay, today I'm going to watch something new. I watched The Circle. I love that.
Yes, that's it. Love is Blind.
Yeah.
I can handle Love is Blind.
Like, real simple, but like, I'm an actor. I should be in like research mode. No, I tried to watch Succession and I'm like, it's so, did I go to college? Like, I can't, I don't understand anything that's happening. My brain can't, I'm not there yet. And being at peace that like, Kris, I'm not lazy. I'm not a bad actor. I'm just like, trying to honor my feelings and where I'm at, and that like career is important. But if anything has taught me these past 2 years, it is not everything. And I can't continually burn the candles at both ends. Can't do it. I refuse. Even now, I still have not in maybe 8 years slept more than 4 months in the same bed. And that is solely due to the lockdown in LA. If not that, I would have, because I had booked a TV show the day that it had locked down. I'm done with that. Thank God for self-tapes. I feel like I have like early onset dementia.
I mean, that is what trauma does.
Yeah.
Trauma, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that you have the self-narrative that you're not a lazy actress. That's so important because I think grief obviously manifests itself in so many different ways, but for people who are real go-getters like you and I, one of the things that is most frustrating to me about the grief process is it feels like this uninvited guest into my life. And one of the things that really helped me last year as I was dealing with my stepfather's passing and my father-in-law's passing, because it's a lot of business too. That's the thing that people don't realize. There's a lot of estate stuff, and depending on who you are, that may be you. You might be the person who steps up to the plate because your other surviving parent is too enmeshed in grief to take on some of the more logistical sides of someone's passing. And I remember being mad at having to do this thing when I just really wanted Audrey to have her acting life. Like, please.
Yep.
Like, I've been in this pandemic and now everyone's dying, and can I just like have my acting life back? And I listened to a Miata Idoga, who we've had on this podcast several times. She has her lives on her Abundance Bound website. And she talked about the new year. And she said, you know, what are the zones that you want growth in? What are your life zones that you want to focus on next year? And she said, you may have a zone that you don't want, and it's not something you've chosen. So maybe you have a sick parent, or maybe you have a sick child, or maybe you have something happening to your house, or my dear friends, their condo flooded. And the insurance company is saying it's somebody else's fault, and somebody else is saying it's the insurance company's fault. This was a year ago, and to this day, it's still not been settled.
Oh, wow.
It's a disaster. And so, you know, things like that happen. And obviously, that's not something that you want to deal with. The logistics of loss and the grief of loss are kind of an inconvenience, an interjection into the life that I was planning on going forth with over the next year. And it brought me a lot of comfort to hear that, because it was a real permission to surrender to that reality. And I find the grief process is just deepening levels of surrender. It's like, and then I surrender. Okay, they're gone. And then I surrender. And then I'm mad, and then I surrender. And then I'm inconvenienced, and then I surrender. And then this family member's pissing me off, and then I surrender, right? Like all of that stuff. And the only good part about it is that that's done. Mm-hmm. Like, if things go right, you will bury your parents. They won't bury you.
Their wish, that would be my, yeah.
That's right. That's right. And so it's something that if things go right, we're all going to have to deal with.
Yep. Yep.
And the only good news is don't have to do that again.
Yeah.
That's done. It is the hardest year. It's just the hardest year. And you may lose some acting momentum from it. And one thing that I've tried to remind myself, and it's easier, I think, when have a few years under you and some success under you, as you and I do, to say, I've built my momentum before. I will build momentum again.
I totally resonate with that. If I wasn't an actor during this time, I would not be able to have flown home to throw my dad that surprise party, to like have spent all of this amazing time. I get Christmases off and not be able to live in a different state when I'm so grateful for that. And that's trying to hold on to those kernels of what's positive about all of this, enmeshed with also my need to but it was going to look like this by the time I was this age. Life happens to us all. And I'm going to come up against roadblocks, and again, surrendering to it's not going to look like what I think, and to be okay with that, and to know time doesn't heal all wounds, but this too shall pass. Right now, while I am fuck acting. I don't want to be like an actor. I hate everything about it. That's not true. It's so funny. I'll get an audition and be like, oh. And then I'll start to get into it. And like by the time that I'm like, oh, I guess I do like it. I do enjoy it. And at the end of the day, right, if our job is to reflect the world in which we live, that like it is a weird artistic gift. And now like I'm going to be able to connect to characters that I would never really have been able to connect to until I lost my dad. Right? They'll be like, I have a lot of friends that have kids and they're like, when you have a kid, your art's going to deepen like so much and you won't be able to deal with the bullshit because you have a mouth to feed. And like that is, I feel like, oh, like this level of like, I'm going to miss my dad every single day. But I won't know. I wouldn't know what that's like unless this happened. And I try to like hold on to those life nuggets a little bit as an artist.
Yeah, it really reminds me also when you said about how it doesn't look like what you thought it was going to look like. That really reminded me of, like, I always love to take it all back to the art because I understand the creative process so deeply in terms of acting. And when I start working on anything as an actor, I have an idea of what it's going to look like. And it's never what I thought it was going to look like. And I have to go through often a very frustrating, painful, creative process for it to become what it becomes.
Yeah.
And the real beauty and blessing that I hold on to is what it becomes, though different than what I imagined, is surprising. And the beauty is in the creative and inspired surprises that show up that I couldn't have planned on, but that truly occur to me, like death occurs to us suddenly. And then I am able to work with that and create something so much more three-dimensional and layered, and other contributors as well are contributing to the whole process. And they have their creative input and their creative stamp on it. Yep. And I try to think about that as well. I love what you said about how it really grounded you into what's important. Like that the car rides are in first class and all of that stuff is candy. Yeah. It's like happy. But is that going to motivate you for long? Is it exciting? There may be people who that stays true for. It hasn't for me. For me, the thing that keeps me really inspired is the pursuit of mastery, is the creative process. And now that I'm in a place where so many of my friends have moved on into other careers or other lives, and they'll talk to me about it, and obviously I'm so honest about the journey of it all, and I'll say, honestly, I find it to be the greatest honor of my life that I get to do this thing, because I very much feel it is an act of give, because I know people need to have distraction, relief, perspective. Any story that does any of those things is such a true gift. And though there are many of me doing this field, I personally feel very honored to be able to contribute.
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially for me, the gift of like a perspective and like connection. And like, honestly, most of the time we connect in the simple things. Like the high art is great. I was in an experimental movement troupe. Like I'm the actress that would like, if I could lie on the floor and pour blood on myself like Marina Abramovich, like that would be Kris's ideal career. That and like a voiceover, a cartoon. Just lie on the floor, pour blood on myself and like give it meaning. So like I want to be
weird. I am that like weird artsy girl. But as I've gotten older, me like, no, that's wonderful and great. And all deserves its place. Right? All deserves its place. But at me to another human that like, I only like that because I went to school for theater and like studied about experimental theater. Like not everyone gets that opportunity. So just because I studied the arts doesn't make it, there's no best. It's what connects. People are like, oh, you did a Lifetime movie. And at first I was like, oh, but now I'm like, no, who cares? That's awesome. It was fun. I had a great time. I still talk to my castmates. People love Lifetime because they want that formulaic thing. And now that I've gone through a trauma, I get it. Like, I kind of need to know what I'm getting into. Now it's no longer about, oh, I have to do, like, everything high art or, like, be only series reg on these shows. Like, whatever, man. Once I get to wanting to be back on set full-time, bring it on. I will do the best I can. And that's really my job, is I do the best I can with what I'm given. Not that I won't have preferences, but it's all okay and deserves a place. There's a place for it all.
I just love the reflection on that. It feels very true to me, and it feels like a mark of artistic maturity as well. One of my favorite sayings is you become what you judge. And so whenever anyone's like really judging blah, blah, blah show, I just am like, tick-tock, you're walking right to it. And there you are, like every single time. Yeah, every time. Well, I am so glad that you're giving yourself this time and space to grieve. I'm so glad that you have armed yourself with good mental help as well, who can help guide you in this grief process. I just want to really say that to everyone.
Yeah.
Death of a parent, death of immediate family, death of a spouse, death of a child, like it is like taking the structure of a house and knocking it out. And don't go at it alone. There are a ton of great people at the Actors Fund that you can reach out to. I also want to say to anyone, ask your friend to do the work for you. I find that looking for a therapist is an intensive amount of work. And when something like this happens, everyone will say to you, let me know if you need anything. Do you need anything? And you're like, I can't even begin to ask you what I need. Like, I don't have the space to even say, bring me food or any of it. So when you're dealing with something like this, I found a really great thing to do is email your friend, anyone who's like, what do you think I can do? And say, I need a therapist.
Yeah.
If you have insurance, say, here's my insurance. If you don't have insurance, say, here's what I'm able or willing to pay. Find me someone. I'd like virtual. I'd like, if you have a preference of a man or a woman or an age range or whatever. And in my experience, people will go handle that. If you are a friend who has someone you love experiencing deep loss right now, I really recommend offering it up, even bringing options to the table. Though we are emotional people, I don't know a lot of actors who bring their emotion every day to their day-to-day conversations. Yeah. And so having somebody that I pay to take it all. I was with my therapist. I just cried for I think the whole 50 minutes. And she just sat there while I cried. And I was like, worth it.
Worth it. I don't have to manage your emotions and me cry.
That's it. I don't have to feel bad. I don't feel like I'm wasting someone's time. I don't have to feel like I'm taking somebody down, bringing anyone down. Yep. It was like I could just experience the compounding sadness of all of it while they witnessed it.
Yeah.
And what a gift.
I just want to say that is the most brilliant thing. Would you like help getting help? That has been also a very rough question. Is there anything I can do for you? And I stopped eating. So I'm like, I literally can't read hunger cues. So I don't know. Honestly, I really don't know what I need right now. So when it was friends that they came at me with options, they're like, okay, would you like me to pick you up? Or are you comfortable driving yourself? Or would you like lasagna? Or would you like an Uber Eats gift card? And I can say one or two, but I'm already indecisive. So on top of grief, but anyone asking me, what can I do? And honestly, my default would be when you see anyone that you love, you just tell them that you love them. Love your people while they're here.
And that's what you do for me. But that's what I'm going to say now. Can I find you a grief counselor?
Yes.
Because that for me has been, I'm in therapy twice a week now. In fact, like I have part of me moving back to Tennessee and finding a sublet. That's how I can afford it. I got to get in some help. And I will say too, back to the acting with premieres coming, I know I'm going to be back in some very different world of things soon. And I just want to get my mind right.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, that's what got me back into therapy during the pandemic. I held off a while and I was like, the degree to which I take care of myself now will ease the adjustment when this thing starts releasing itself. And I thought if I wait until then to go get help, I think I'm going to have a longer road. If I get help now, I think the transition, as you're saying, back into the career, back into the busyness, back into all of it is going to be a smoother ride.
Yeah, absolutely.
But wait, Kris. Oh, you sweet, caring, intelligent, passionate, beautiful spirit, you. Wait, I have to interrupt you.
Help me. I need some help.
And now it's time for listener questions.
I'm so scared.
This listener question is brought to you by Abundance Bound. That is Abundance Bound. If I could go back, I would tell myself two things. One, get good at auditioning. Two, get amazing at managing and understanding actor finances. Too many of you have 8 jobs, your debt is increasing, and your only hope is that you get some giant commercial or you get some crazy television job and it pulls you out of debt. And what I want you to know is if that is your thought process, that is not sustainable. Even if you got the magical commercial, you are not prepared to manage that money correctly. And we cannot sustain our own careers or support each other, support ourselves, lift each other up as long as we are staying in denial about money. So please go get educated, go get the support you need. abundancebound.com/financial-empowerment for more information. It's in the show notes. June enrollment obviously starts June, but you can sign up for the wait list for June enrollment. Please do that, please. Call us with your strike stories or questions at 667-ACTOR-70.
Hi, Audrey. This is Kelsey coming from Los Angeles, California, with a quick self-tape May question. I am currently in an acting class, and I decided to tape one of my scenes that I was assigned as a practice before I went into class. I went into class, I got a bunch of notes, and it's a totally new take on the character. And I was wondering if I can re-tape it again and post it as a way of my own practice, and that if that would count for self-tape May. Can you do the same scene twice, and can it count as 2 different tapes as long as they are different enough, and if they're 2 different times, or will it only count if it is 16 different scenes? Yay, self-tape May!
Woohoo! Yay, self-tape May! I love this, Kelsey. Yes, do the same scene as many times as you want. Honestly, here's the thing. This is for everyone else to create their own system of growth. I just talked with a friend this last week who's doing self-tape May, and they really need to work more in depth on larger roles. And so they're using self-tape May by doing the same character and taping that role 4 times in a row. And they're only going to do 4 different characters the entire month. And that's because that's a practice that they're going to need. So they're going to work on it and then tape it and then think about it, get some direction, get some collaboration, and then work on it again, tape it, and then repeat that process all week. And that's their particular plan because of what their needs are for deliberate practice. To each their own. I am not scouring. I promise you guys, I'm not scouring the self-tape May hashtag and being like, you are a cheater, and you are a cheater, and you are a cheater. You're all bad cheaters, and then like disqualifying people. I'm gonna like put you on Instagram with a banner over your face that says, cheater! Self-tape May. Cheater, cheater, pumpkin eater. I'm not doing that, I promise. Best case scenario, I'm watching one or two of your tapes and I'm like, yay, look at you. I love it. Bobby pin, woo. Otherwise, the only person whose 16 tapes in completion I am likely to watch is the actual winner that I draw at random. So if I draw you at random, and you have 16 tapes that you've done, and all 16 are the same character, and I can't tell if you've just done 16 takes in one session and you posted them all, like, I don't know. I probably won't love that, but also, I don't know. Why'd you do that? You're trying to experiment with what 16 different takes is really going to do for you? I don't know. I could argue that that's valuable. Like, is there a lot of differentiation in your 16 takes in 1 hour? Sure. Fuck it, you guys. This is free. You get what you pay for.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
All right. Well, let's end with the questions I always ask. So tell everyone where they can find you on social if they would like to find you.
Sure. You can find me at Kris Sidberry's, KrisSidberries, on Instagram. And that's really kind of the only one I'm on.
And do you have any questions for me?
Like for a young actor, maybe this will be their first time booking something big and then having to go through the empty space. How to get your mind right for when it's going to go dark. Because it's going to go dark for everyone at some point.
This is not great news for everyone. I don't think there's anything you can tell anyone because I have tried. And I think, honestly, even if you get success right away, like you graduate from college and you're one of the people that gets, thrown into success, it's so many years of wanting to be there and idolizing that experience that when it comes to you, somebody anew, first time, I don't think that there's a way to manage the ego. The only people I see successfully do it are second generation actors because they know what's happening here. And I think that's another reason why a lot of productions like to hire second generation younger actors for their shows, because they have an understanding perhaps of how this is going to go, and they'll be a little less high maintenance and chaotic and nervous breakdowny maybe in all the whirlwind of it all, that they can keep grounded about all of it. I would rather talk to the friends of the person who's having their success. So if you're a friend of a person that's having success and you have noticed that your friend is being a little weird or maybe not as connective, or maybe they're starting to act like maybe they're better than you, or maybe they're just always talking about weird shit that is tied to the publicity or the whatever of the production, and you kind of wonder, like, where's my friend at? Just know they're gonna come to the other side of the mountain. And the best thing that you can do for them is to stay sort of on the periphery, stay supportive in like a gentle way, because when the show ends or when the movie comes out and then the momentum slows down or whatever is the thing, honestly, when their category changes and they're not booking commercials anymore for the first time in 5 years, happens all the time. And suddenly they go a year, 2 years without working. It's coming for everyone. And I actually think it's impossible to have the perspective when you're in it that that's not going to happen to you. Every time you get on a momentum streak, it feels like the new permanent. Like, oh, okay, like I'm just auditioning for awesome things all the time now. I'm booking all the time. Like, I did it. I'm on the momentum streak. And this is like my new permanent reality. I think it's just you have to know that they're going to go through it and they'll come on the other side. And I just always say to myself when anyone does that, I just think, all right, I'll see you on the other side. I will be here for you. I will be here for you. Because it's going to be a hard road coming down.
Yeah.
Because the things you should do is like, I think you should get therapy in the height
Yep.
to manage all of that. But I don't think anyone will because you're crushing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. I love it when people tell me brilliant. It's one of my most favorite things. Great. All right. What do you wish someone had taught you or managed to get you to understand when you were just a wee babe entering this business?
Oh, Lord. You know, a big thing I wish someone had told me, and you had an episode with Miata about this. I see so many young actors like move to the big city and then like get these jobs that are going to like make them save all this time for the auditions that they're probably not going to get because they're not repped. If I had like not done that from all the side hustles I worked in my early 20s, I probably could have retired if I understood investing, also understanding how money works, like just do that now. But yeah, I was like leaving myself with all these like open space for like maybe 2-3 auditions a month. And so now I'm just like broke and can't go out and enjoy New York City while holding all this space for the auditions I'm not going to get. And like that would be my biggest thing. Like if you're moving to a big city and you're not repped, you might have the student films. Also, that one. A lot of student films never come out of the can. Just know, like, that may not get edited. So don't do it because you, like, really think, I'm going to have this great footage. Do it because, like, it's maybe experience on set. They were able to show you something like their style, whatever. But, like, understand what you're getting into because I did that a lot, too. Thinking, like, I'm going to get this great footage. And you never going to see that footage.
It's so real. It's so real. It's so real.
And that student film is not going to any festivals. Like, like just the real reality of money and time. Oh, one more thing. Do not miss your grandmother's 90th birthday. You can avail check me all you want. If this is my grandmother's birthday, I have never actually had that conflict happen. This will make me cry. Birthdays, wedding invitations, like, oh, because maybe. Or I might, it's audition season. So no, from like pilot season on, which doesn't exist anymore, I'm not going to do these things. Never again. You'll never get those moments back, but you are completely replaceable on set. And there'll be another character written just like that one other one in like in the next 5 years. You'll get that role if it's meant to be yours. Will come again or you'll book it. But I will never miss another big life moment because of a maybe.
Absolutely. I mean, I love that you said that. I love that you said that. And here's what I want to say to people, too. When you have a set of values and boundaries like that, in my experience, it makes you more valuable to the right people. And the people that it doesn't make you valuable to, you were always expendable to them anyway.
Amen. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
What is the best part about the business for you?
The relationships I've made.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why acting school is so great. Acting school is the best for me. That was the best part of acting so far because I've made some really bomb-ass people and you get to...
Me too!
Yeah, like, and like you. Like, I would never, only because, like, community. It is a little bit like going to war because it's such a world that no one else will get until they're in it. So, like, I love seeing people win because I know how hard it took for you to get there. I have girlfriends that were like, yeah, you know, I actually can't do this job. I won't put your name in. I just love that support. It's family. And also, regional theater gigs is summer camp for adults. That shit's amazing.
It is.
You're getting
It is.
good money to live in a hotel with your friends and you're only working 3 hours a day. Once rehearsals are over, it's fun. It's so much fun. And I get to hang out with my friends and
be impressed by them. That's my favorite thing. You're like, you're so good. I'm so good. Let's go have nachos. Great.
Exactly. I love it.
Love it. Great. What is the hardest part about the business for you?
Love a self-tape. But, like, I'm spending 20 hours a week for not a darn thing. Not even a feedback. The only feedback now, because there's not many callbacks, is if that office, okay, you brought me in last week for a tape, and you're bringing me in this week. So I know I don't suck.
Right.
That's about the feedback.
I'm going to be very adamant in our new contract negotiations of a page limit for first auditions and not allowing anyone to do straight to callbacks either. No straight to callbacks, no straight to producers. The first time you ask somebody in, we got a 3-page limit and that's it, because
Thank you.
they're only watching 6 seconds anyway, and I get it and I don't blame them for it, but then don't have me put in 20 hours on your 3 scenes because I'm going to. Mastery is what I'm excited about.
That's been my thing. Like, I need to join a committee because you can't send me 10 pages.
Come sit with me.
I should.
Come sit with me. We'll fight.
Yeah. And don't ask me to buy things for my commercial auditions.
Well, and that's already a thing. They've already handled that in contracts. But absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, and what does success look like to you?
If I could have my dream career, I love voiceover. That's kind of how I got my SAG card, or at least what made me join. And Regina King, she has the best career ever.
She does.
Like,
Boy, I will not debate you on that.
yeah, yeah, that's whose career I would have. Yeah, some bomb-ass shows, direct a little bit. People know who I am, but not enough to where I have to have security 24/7.
Yes, yes. And as you know, I always on this podcast like to ask actors with any melanin in their skin if they have anything that they would like to talk about that.
Not really, other than like, it is so wonderful right now that I'm getting to, I mean, honestly, when I went to school for theater, I was like, cool. So I'm going to do Ragtime and the Lion King, and then occasionally do some August Wilson or Mary Baraka. But like, how wonderful it is that there is so much. But on the other hand, there's still a lot of work to be done. And I'm going to start writing, and we have to also write our own stories, because if I don't like how I'm being represented on film and TV, someone from Idaho with blonde hair and blue eyes who grew up in a cornfield is probably not going to know like my story enough to write it. So I'm working really hard on like putting my money where my mouth is with that a little bit. My caveat with that, I am so anti when anyone's like, you're in a dry spell, create your own content. Stop telling actors that. I've had friends, especially in LA, run and try to create a short film and then blew all their savings and now are like back to waiting tables because someone told them that was the way to go. So let me just say, I
love you for saying that.
Hate that. Or like, I'm going to do all this Instagram stuff, or, you know, have a group of friends. I have a good friend in New York, and like, she is almost 6'6", 6'7", very dark skinned, beautiful lawyer actor. And like, let's just create something together, even if it never leaves. It's exploring my other avenues.
I'm so glad you said that, because I'm with you on that. I get so mad because I've seen the same thing of people just spending thousands and thousands again and again when the actual intention is to then be an actor.
Yep.
And again, you know, everyone do what they want, but I have seen that also just completely derail people. And I think if you had spent that same $15,000 on some really great coaching and connections and whatever that is, that might have gone fast for you. And listen, I have some friends who have done it, but I just always tell people it's not easier and it's definitely not cheaper.
Yep.
So don't do it because you think it's going to be easier and cheaper, because it is not.
Yeah.
Great. And last question, mildly interesting. You have anything mildly interesting for us today?
I hate quoting a thing if I don't know the exact source, but we now, our brains like take in more information in a day than our ancestors did in their entire lives with the computers and whatnot and the phone. So like, just be kind to yourself. I can even tell like when I'm trying to memorize lines, like, how am I on my phone for 5 minutes? I don't even know how I got there. I don't even know. Like, just be kind to yourself. We've had a really tough 2 years now. I haven't given anybody an excuse to be lazy. But yeah, we're taking, it's been a lot. And then that's my mildly interesting thing is like, our brains are gone through a lot. Yeah.
That's a really powerful perspective, I feel like.
Yeah.
To be like, shh. And I love everyone's like, I'm so anxious. I'm like, I wonder why. Well, listen, I am going to stop the record button, but I want to officially say thank you so much for coming on.
Pleasure.
I think this is going to be such a beautiful conversation for our listeners to get to hear, and such an important one because it really addresses the cycles of our careers, the cycles of our life, and the unexpectedness of all of it. Really is, I think, really, really valuable. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. This was so like, it's happening. I get to finally be able to tell that.
Next week on Audrey Helps Actors, we've got Elisa Perry, I hope. Is it going to be edited in time? We're going to find out. Thanks so much to Kris Sidberry. Kris, I just think the world of you. Not only are you an incredible person, you're an outstanding actress. Congratulations on the win. Go and see Kris in Whitney Houston, I want to dance with somebody. And send her a little note. I am so proud of you. If you didn't see her amazing carpet look, she smashed it. And now she's smashing it, taking care of herself and taking care of her loved ones. It's a full life we live. This episode was mixed and mastered by Thomas Snodgrass, produced by Jesse Lumen, my husband, still so handsome. He gets older and gets better looking. Fuck that guy. This episode was edited by Taylor Martorana. That's Taylor Martorana. Show music by Ari De Niro, theme song by Aalok Mehta and 108 Hill, and shout out to Matthew Patrick Davis as the mother of the review baby. All right, everyone, don't forget your towel.